think that this is a moment to be reminded of exactly who he's always been and exactly who he will always be.
Yeah.
And for him to sort of, through his deeds and through his words and through his speech, kind of erase the memory of the last 4 weeks.
My fellow Americans, I'm speaking to you tonight from behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office. In this sacred space, I'm surrounded by portraits of extraordinary American presidents. Thomas Jefferson wrote the immortal words that guide this nation. George Washington, who showed us presidents are not kings. Abraham Lincoln, who implored us to reject malice. Franklin Roosevelt, who inspired us to reject fear. I revere this office, but I love my country more. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president. But in the defense of democracy, which is at stake, I think is more important than any title. I draw strength and I find joy in working for the American people.
So that was Biden talking, making his first speech since dropping out. And, you know, he's still doing this threat to democracy stitch that he's been doing pretty much his entire presidency, right? And as you all know, you guys know how I frame the threat to our democracy. It's a threat to our democratic power. They need to preserve our power. He didn't do this to save democracy. Joe Biden didn't step down to save democracy. He dropped out of the race to save his party's chances of power and control. That is the real reality, right? And all this little word salad he's doing, all this like, oh, we must unite as a country. We heard the sticks before, right? When he got in 2020, he said he was going to be the uniter in chief. And then what? A year later, on Philadelphia, somewhere in town, I forgot the town hall, but I just remembered the red background and him calling half of America extremists because they support Make America Great Again, because they support Donald Trump, right? And the amount of like lies in the speech is also concerning to me as well. But before we get into Biden, because I want to react more, because it was only 11-minute speech. Biden looked very orange, very tan. You know, some people were concerned about that. I didn't really notice it until someone pointed it out. But one thing I wanted to highlight is the fact that Kamala, let's talk about Kamala a little bit, because the argument is that Biden stepped down to save democracy. How are you saving democracy by allowing a candidate to go in? Like, if Joe Biden would have an argument about saving democracy if he had supported an open convention, or he said, hey, I implore my party to do a primary. Let the American people vote. He didn't do that. He just said, hey, I give him a position. I endorse Kamala Harris because F you, Nancy Pelosi, F you, Obama, because you guys did all this pressure campaign to get me out. F you people in the media, so I'm going to set you up for failure. Now I got to stick with my VP, Kamala Harris, right? And Obama doesn't believe Kamala can beat Trump, which is why he hasn't endorsed her according to sources. And now I'm starting to trust sources more because the fact that it came out, right? The media is trying to hide her record, right? This is George Orwell. Every record has been destroyed or falsified. Every book rewritten. Every picture has been repainted. Every statue and street building has been renamed. Every date has been altered. And the process is to continue day by day, minute by minute. History has stopped. Nothing exists except an endless present in which the party's always right. George Orwell, 1984. And this is in regards to Axios saying that Harris being tagged as the border czar it actually never happened. And then the readers themselves pointing out to articles of where they have said that Harris is appointed by Biden as a border czar. So these are the things that the media is doing in the background to trying to help Harris's campaign desperately. But it doesn't seem to be working. And I remember I pointed out in my previous videos talking about Kamala Harris, her chance, her policy, her as a candidate, how I said I cannot trust her for the fact that for 3 years, she's been hiding the fact that Biden's in a mental decline. And it seems like swing voters agree with me. Take a quick look.
Who do you blame for President Biden being in office in this condition? Who deserves the blame?
His close staff. They work with him every day.
So I think that's what also makes me nervous about the Vice President Harris.
Yeah. Talk about that a bit.
So yes, she's going to be in it, but she also helped keep him in where he's at right now. And if he really is as bad as what they've been saying, I think if he steps down as president and she steps into the presidency before the end of his term, it almost makes me question a little bit more why it didn't happen sooner. she's worked with him. She's been, to my understanding, with him daily, or at least a couple of days a week. Why hasn't this been brought to her attention? If she's willing to hide that type of information, once she's in office, now what she's willing to hide for herself.
How do you perceive Vice President Harris compared to President Biden in terms of competency and experience?
I think she's worse. She doesn't even know what's going on at the border.
Right.
And that's what she was
supposed to be doing
and in charge of. I mean, as a school teacher, if I did not do what I was supposed to be doing, you better believe my job would be in jeopardy. Well, it isn't. It not only was her job not in jeopardy, she was just handed a promotion.
Is there anyone that Kamala Harris could appoint as her vice president that you would find reassuring, would make you consider voting for her?
No. Never consider voting for her. No.
I would
And
do
not-
RFK Jr. way before her.
Same. Absolutely.
Yeah. And she's not the first woman to run for the presidency, Hillary Clinton. I'm assuming no one voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. So it's not necessarily going to sway you to vote for a woman in office. When do you think America will have a female president?
When there's a competent one.
I don't get a good feel for her.
I think she's an idiot.
Right.
Mary, why do you think that she's not that bright?
Because she hasn't done anything in the time that she's had. We don't know anything about her as far as her 3 years so far in the White House. She's not real smart.
So I had to throw in the Trump voters at the end because those Trump voters they're real, they're funny, they're hilarious. They're like, yeah, I don't think she could do anything. She failed upwards, which is the perception that a lot of people have, and I think Donald Trump can really hit at this point that the Trump voters have brought up. I mean, they already started attacking her as being dangerously liberal, in my view, dangerously progressive. Right, talking about her comments at the borders are hitting her about her wanting universal health care. Even like we can't already not afford things now, and the cost of the government. I already mentioned, if you're new to this channel, the cost of government, the things that you have to pay for government benefits is with inflation. That's the evidence between our eyes. But I digress. Enough about hounding Harris, because that's who is supposed to be running after this guy. Most people seem to not believe that Harris is more competent than Joe Biden. But if you dare say that, you got all these woke black women, woke liberal women calling you a racist because you challenge her competency. I you can't make this up. But I want to focus on the speech. I'll react to all the other stuff on another video. Let's take a quick look over Joe Biden's speech, and then I'll give my thoughts throughout.
But this sacred task of perfecting our union is not about me. It's about you, your families, your futures. It's about we, the people. And we can never forget that. And I never have. I've made it clear that I believe America is at an inflection point. One of those rare moments in history when the decisions we make now will determine our fate of our nation and the world for decades to come. America's going to have to choose between moving forward or backward.
I wanted to ask in the comment section, do you believe if we vote for Trump, are we going backwards or are we going forward? Remember how Kamala, I remember I did a video and she mentioned that we're not going back. And I was like, you mean not going back to a secure border, a more secure border? Not going back to a good economy? Not going back to a rate of inflation that was normal and sustainable for most people in America at the time anyway? Not going back to one of the best economies ever, 2019? You mean you don't want to go back to that? America wants that. America wants mass deportation. 63% of Americans want mass deportation of illegal immigrants. Illegal immigrants. Not newcomers, not undocumented migrants, illegal immigrants. They got to go. Safer streets. Look at San Francisco. Hellhole. I bet the people in Chicago want these illegals out because they're taking resources. They're pushing kids out of their YMCA sporting centers, community centers, because they have to have housing for them. overburdening the system in New York to the point that New York had a shortfall. I think a budget shortfall in the billions. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I know it was in the billions because they weren't prepared for the amount of migrants they got. Like, how is that not moving backwards as a country? We cannot sustain illegal immigration. I'm just being honest. No country can, technically. The best solution for the world is for a lot of these people to make changes within their own country instead of fleeing their country and coming over here. Now, I'm saying this can hurt the American workforce for the fact that we can take all the brightest and talented people from other countries and put them into our own. But in reality, if you want to solve world poverty, global poverty, that's the actual solution to fix it. These people, the brightest and smartest people, must stay in their country and fix it, resolve it, run for political office, change the system. That's the only way you'll fix it. But if they keep fleeing here, these illegals keep fleeing here, because the difference between legal migrants and illegal migrants is the legal migrants are technically more capable of actually sustaining themselves in America. Illegals, not so much. They probably have low skill, probably. I'm not saying it's the norm. And when they get into the system, they end up being on welfare for most of the time and working menial jobs that's hard to sustain themselves, especially in America today. And you want them to come over this border and do what? Barely survive, have to crowd themselves 8 in a one bedroom apartment. Is that kind of living you want the illegals to have in this country? At least with legal immigrants, they got some type of family that's there, some type of community that they can lean on to help them adjust to the. I mean, illegals probably have that too, but this is what you're setting up the country for. You're making the country go backwards. We're already 34, 34, about to go $35 trillion in debt. A lot of the policies that Biden has pushed has caused the inflation, the record inflation that he experienced in 2021, 2022. And he's sitting here trying to make this dichotomy that, oh, we can go forward or we can go backwards based on your purview. You think you call this progress? You call the current economy progress? Majority of Americans don't agree with you, Joe Biden, when it comes to your economy. Now it's going to be Harris's fault too, because she was the last person in the room, right? She co-signed all your decisions, right? And this is the argument I'm trying to have. Harris ain't it.
Between hope and hate, between unity and division, we have to decide, do we still believe in honesty, decency, respect?
That's rich. Honesty and decency. That is rich. Decency, okay, is calling half of America, half of your constituency of Joe Biden, because you're president of the United States, not president of the Democratic Party, right? When you call half the country hateful, is that unifying? Right? Since 2021, there's been stories about how you stumbling and Nancy Pelosi, after you leave the room, had to say, here's what the president was trying to say. Frustrated with you. 2021. And you want to talk about deceit? People think Joe Biden is currently going through a medical issue, and that is one of the reasons why he's stepping down. But his press secretary, everyone's denying it.
You read the president's statement where he said that it's in the country's best interest for him to step aside. Why is it in the country's best interest for him to step aside? Does it have to do with his health, or
it does not have to do? They have nothing to do with his health. Again, the president's going to speak to this directly to the American people tonight in prime time. I know many of you all will be watching it. There are specials going on tonight. I promise you, he will speak to this directly to all of you tonight. But in his letter, he talked about the country, he talked about the party, he talked about the moment that we're in right now. It is not about his health. I can say no, that's not the reason, but hear him out tonight.
So there's only 2 reasons that Joe Biden can be dropping out, right? Either it's by his health, or it's what we all saw, the experience of, hey, look, you can't win, you can't beat Donald Trump. Look at you're down 6 points percentage on average in the polls. I'm looking at the polls now, and I mean, I think the polls haven't settled in yet. We can't get a full grasp of like what the sentiment is, but from the early onset that I'm seeing, there's not a lot of good signs for Kamala Harris.
Freedom, justice, and democracy. In this moment, we can see those we disagree with not as enemies but as fellow Americans. Can we do that? Does character?
I keep pausing it, but it's for the fact that he said, "Oh, we should not see them as enemies, but fellow Americans." But I keep thinking about that 2022 speech he made in Philadelphia Town Hall. I think it was called Independence Hall. I forget where. And him calling people, oh, mega extremists, mega Republicans, mega this, demonizing half the country. And I remember I reacted to that and I was like, yo, this is a very divisive speech. Most Americans agree with me here. He's saying all the nice fluff stuff, and then they're going to put histrionics behind it. You got Van Jones out here crying, said, the stuttering guy did good. All this, like, I'm like, what is this, a movie? He's stepping down. It's like, he wasn't able to win in the first place. He's trying to save himself from an L. And you want to compare Joe Biden to George Washington? Ha! You dropping out because you don't want to take an L. There was no possible way you could win. You lost trust from your party, your donors. And you try to spin it as some principled. Get over yourselves. Liberals always trying to pretend that they're so virtuous. They're so righteous. Like, yo, just, you can't win. You stepping down. That's it. I don't need all the fluff behind it. I digress. I know I was supposed to let it go, but after I heard those words, come on, guys. I had to stop it.
Character and public life still matter. I believe I know the answer to these questions because I know you, the American people. And I know this. We are a great nation because we are good people. When you elected me to this office, I promised to always level with you, to tell you the truth. And the truth, the sacred cause of this country, is larger than any one of us. And those of us who cherish that cause, cherish it so much, a cause of American democracy itself, must unite to protect it. You know, in recent weeks, it's become clear to me that I need to unite my party in this critical endeavor. I believe my record as president, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term, but nothing.
Nope, I don't agree with you. Most Americans don't agree with you either. Only 38% of Americans approve of your job as a president. Sorry. So I don't know where you're getting this idea that you deserve the second term. You thought you deserved a second term. Not even your party thought you deserved a second term, but you thought you know. If you believe that, Joe Biden, why are you dropping out? This is why many people are speculating that it's health concerns. It's some health concern that the Democrats don't want getting out. They just want them to stay in their office, stay in that White House, not be out there in front of the American people. I think something is actually going on with Joe Biden. That's speculation, I admit. That's just my opinion. This is just me thinking, but that's the only possible scenario I can think of. And he said, I must unite my party, right? Obama didn't even endorse Harrison yet. Pelosi just got around to endorsing Harris. He did this speech to unite his party, not the country, not to secure them. And you know the funny part about this speech, and I think I'm gonna end it off there. You guys can watch the rest yourself. The link is in the description below. You know the funny part about this? While this speech was going on, I think Free Palestine type protesters are out here burning Washington to the ground. Not burning literally, but they're burning American flags, disrespecting our country, doing all this ish while this speech is going on. And I'm like, yo, how can we allow this to happen? Harris is scared to pick Josh Shapiro, which will be the most threatening VP for us anyway, because he's Jewish. They don't want to pick him because they don't want to reunite old wounds. I don't understand how we can let people burn the American flag. Now, they're going to say, oh, it's free speech, Kenny. People are allowed to do that. Oh, yeah? But then if a dude runs over or makes skid marks on a pride flag memorial that's painted on the street, cops are arresting him. Make that make sense to me. So you rather protect wokeness than penalize somebody for burning the symbol of our country in our grounds. Raise up another country's flag, another state's flag in our soil. The disrespect. Yo, patriotism need to come back. We need national pride in this country again. And Joe Biden wasn't the guy to do it. Harrison ain't the woman to do it either. But hey, I digress. Let me know your thoughts about Joe Biden's speech, how you felt about it, how you feel about Harris moving forward. him stepping down for saving democracy when we all know he's just stepping down to save his Democratic Party's butt? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be interested to hear your thoughts and perspective on this. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you guys watching the end of the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.